Welcome to the program. The dust is yet to settle following the outcome of the Edo State governorship election. The election saw the All Progressives Congress candidate Monday Oluwole emerge victorious, defeating his rivals Asue Ighodalo of the People's Democratic Party and Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party. But the opposition is not backing down. Both Ighodalo and Akpata, along with their parties, have rejected the election results. PDP says it will challenge the outcome of the election in court. Several civil society organizations are not only calling for a review, they argue that the Independent National Electoral Commission should be dissolved and a fresh independent body set up. As the legal battles take shape, we are joined live from Benin City, the capital of Edo State, by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of the state, Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi. Honorable Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me.
Right. Let's start with the fact that you are very familiar with the electoral process. You used to be a staff, a very senior staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission, where you retired from, before taking up the job of the Attorney General of Edo State and Commissioner of Justice. Can you share with us your initial thoughts about the elections that ended in Edo State last weekend?
Well, thank you again. In the build-up to the election, there was ominous signs that this election wasn't going to go as well as it should go. There were those who were supposed to be guardians of the process turned into a different thing. Several opposition figures, several members of the People's Democratic Party, for example, were arrested and taken out of the state. So the law is that where a crime is committed, you arrest the person, you detain the person there, and within a limited time, bring the person before a court of law. But the police arrested people. They showed obvious partisanship. They arrested people, took them away from Benin, sequestered them in Abuja, kept them without bail, without access to their lawyers, without access to their family for several weeks. When initially we went there and said, look, these people, they may have committed a crime, so why don't you grant them bail? The police refused and kept them there. When the clamor for their release got so loud, they now hurriedly charged them to court. They didn't charge them to court in Edo State, where the crimes, whatever crime they are alleged to have committed took place. They charged them to court in Abuja. Not just Abuja, they left Wuse Zone 2, where most of the matches courts are, went to a court in a village, Dutse Al-Haji, charged them to court, and 10 of them remanded them in a prison, in a correctional facility in Niger State, and adjourned the case till after the election. There were a host of policemen all over the state looking for people, all happened to be PDP members, hosts of them, looking for people, arresting people, and taking all of them. Even as I speak, 3 people were arrested on the eve of the election. They are still in custody against their constitutional rights. They are still in custody in Abuja as I speak, at that IRT place there. They are there not too far from Asokoro district. They are there several days, more than a week now. They're still sequestered. They're not charged to court, not charged with any offense, and so it was ominous. And I think the clamor, people were started crying, so why should this be? They started demonstrating, but those people are still there. A host of people like that. So that was there. Then things were building up, and reports were made about the conduct of certain people, but I think we paid no heed to that. So on election day, what happened on election day was therefore not too much of a surprise. The elections materials in particular areas did not get there on time. Rather surprisingly, we thought that INEC had overcome its challenges, logistics challenges. In my ward, for example, the RA, as the INEC calls it, Reshon area, the materials that were supposed to go to the camp at midnight had not arrived at the camp. This camp is about 10 minutes drive, less than 10 minutes drive from the INEC local government headquarters. And don't forget, when the materials were moved from the INEC central bank vaults, they were taken to the local governments. By the time they got to the local government of Oredo, the capital city, they were attacked. APC thugs, named thugs, went there, attacked them, but the INEC had to issue a statement. The INEC acknowledged that, then had to issue a statement that none of the materials were missing or lost. The following day, we were supposed to deploy. By 5 p.m., they were supposed to be at the rack centers. But at midnight, I left there at midnight, they still were not there. So this was the build-up to election day. Don't forget, we say election is a process. It's not an event, it's a process. And all these things leading up to the ultimate voting, where there were fault lines already established. There were problems with them. So on my own polling unit, for example, materials did not come there, personnel and materials did not get there till after 10 p.m. This is a walking distance from the rack center. But around past 10 a.m. they got there. They spent about 30 minutes trying to set up, and eventually voting did not commence about 10 a.m. So logistics challenges were there. The beavers worked perfectly for me, but in some places there were reports that didn't work as well. But most of the time in my own polling unit and the adjoining polling units, it worked fairly well. The process went on smoothly after the initial hitch, and then we went for collation. Collation was delayed, but eventually we collated at the ward level, RA level. Everything went quite well. Now the drama started after the ward collation.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, let me come in here. Honorable Commissioner, yes, can you hear me? Let me come in here. Yes. You've talked a lot about the background events that led up to the election. So it would seem from what you have explained so far that you would agree with some of the observations and the reports of the election observers and the sentiments that have been expressed by the opposition parties who were defeated in that poll. Oh, certainly. The build-up did not go too well, and some people showed their hands too early. There is a chieftain, an aspirant under the APC who had contested the primary election under the APC in full police uniform. Days to the election was seen making partisan statements threatening the governor and the People's Democratic Party. His name is Blessing. He was there. It was all over social media. I think his channel showed part of it. And he was alleged to have been arrested. By the time the police claimed they have arrested him, he was in a rally, you know. But he was in full, and some people warned that there were intelligence information indicating that there were lots of fake police uniforms around, and these things were going to be used on election day. One of them showed his hand, and he was in police uniform 2 days, more than 48 hours before the election. Right. So from what you've said so far, some organizations, so for instance, the Abuja School of Thought has specifically recommended that INEC be dissolved completely and a new independent body set up and run in a different way. What's your view on that recommendation?
You can understand why these people say the things they do. You have independent people, you have CSOs who have issued their reports, and none. I'm not aware of any credible CSO that has not faulted the process and the way INEC conducted that election. All through the night, all through the days leading up to the election and through the night of the election, we were in contact with INEC officials and they look, don't do this, please, this is happening. It will take so much. The commission can be disbanded, but it's more than the chairman and the 12 commissioners. It starts with them, but it's more than that. There's a cleansing that needs to be done, but it's more than the personnel. It also includes the process and the system. It's weighted so much against all those who wish to challenge the process. So you need a change of process, you need a change of I need a change of personnel, but there are certain guarantees you have to put in place so that you have a strong, independent electoral management body that is not susceptible to state capture, that is not susceptible to being influenced in a very, very subverted, really, in such a way. The people who were supposed to be guarding the process, the guardians of the process, became the people, or some of the people, who assisted in subverting the very process. So you had returning officers, you had collation officers, you had people who were supposed to go by the rules, by the law, by the and they took oath because they're supposed to take an oath before every election. Every official involved in the conduct of election is supposed to take an oath, but that became a hollow ritual. They did not obey, most of them did not obey the oath. Many of the presiding officers, many of the members of the youth corps that conducted elections were fairly okay. We don't have too much grounds, just a few places where we have grounds with the EC8As, the initial polling results, so we don't have too many problems and challenges with those. It's the collation, especially local government collation, when they shifted from the initial places where they are supposed to have done, took them to the state's headquarters. You don't do that. It's against the law, it's against the regulations, it's against the INEC guidelines to shift collation just like that without good cause. And when you do shift coalition with good cause, you should carry all the stakeholders. You tell the observers, the media, over and above all, you tell the party agents that, look, we are doing this. This is the reason why we're doing this. And everybody is given access to ensure transparency and the fidelity of the process. That was not done. That was, and that is criminal. It's another, the things that INEC officials did that day is against the Electoral Act, and that with severe penalties. It was criminal of several of the coalition officers to have done what they did.
So you speak as if this is an organization that you have been far away from. I mean, you worked for INEC, so I'm sure you are familiar with a lot of these shortcomings. Are you proud of the organization that you retired from?
With the shambolic election that was conducted on the 21st of September 2024, I have a profound sense of shame at what several of those people did. Yes, there have been shortcomings, but it's becoming systemic. It's becoming so. We saw a bit of it in Kogi last year. We saw a bit of it in Imo. And now it's becoming systemic. It started from it didn't start from 2023, but it was exacerbated. It became worse with the 2023 general elections. A lot of people became disillusioned, bitter, and everything else. But we thought that this is an opportunity for redemption. This is an opportunity to bridge the trust deficit that had continued to broaden, continued to widen all over these years. But in the last 12, 18 months, I'm afraid that the ugly spectra of what the commission has become, a lot of people regard it as a place, an association for organized crime, basically. You know, what they did was subversive of the constitution, subversive of the law, and unbecoming of people who should be upholding the law and upholding processes, democratic processes.
Let's talk about the INEC ad hoc staff. INEC uses a lot of ad hoc staff. Are you able to account for the behavior of those staff? Do they have contractual agreements? Because that's part of the problem that we see. In addition to the logistical failures, why do they insist on using the road transport workers instead of just using a professional logistics body so that you can, you know, stop all the logistical failures during elections?
Well, when I was there, this thing was introduced that we should deal with not just road transport workers, association of road transport owners, and several unions and professional bodies in the logistics chain. I don't know what was responsible for the late commencement of the polls on that day in several. Coincidentally, it is where the PDP was strong that witnessed the worst late, in terms of late commencement of the polls. So, and a lot of people believe that was deliberate. It was designed to ensure that turnout was adversely affected by that. So it probably is man-made, and I would not want to blame the road transport workers or such people. INEC has to come and explain. It hasn't done so. You saw the Yaga figures about and all other civil societies, what they did about late commencement of polls. I think at 8:30 only 21% or 22% had commenced polls. INEC has to explain to us. We don't know. I don't want to second guess what was responsible for that. And I certainly don't want to trade blames or blame a body that may not be responsible for it.
You were director of voter education and publicity when you were at INEC. Talk to us about the job that you did, because if we've had voter education all this while, how is it then that the voter turnout continues to be very low? You can see in Edo, it was barely 20%, which some people were shocked about.
Yes, but first of all, before I retired as director in the Voter Education and Publicity Department. But before then, I was as an advisor to the chairman, two chairmen, the initial pioneer chairman of the commission, Justice Akpata, and subsequently as also advisor to Dr. Abel Gobadia, who succeeded him. And thereafter, I became director of legal services. So it was the last 4 years or thereabouts that I was director of. So I had a varied experience in the commission. Now there was a lot of voter education was not as robust as it ought to have been. I did query some officials from the commission, and they said, well, they were told that there was a paucity of funds. Funding was a big issue with them, so it certainly wasn't as robust as it should be. But there's voter mobilization. The parties tried to do what they did. Obviously, the downpour did not help matters, but the downpour came about 10 o'clock or thereabouts. That didn't help matters. But the truth of the matter was that I started with the build-up to the election. That's why I say it's a process. There was a lot of scaremongering at that time. Thugs, especially one party, went threatening people. There was fire and brimstone. The elections would be violent. There were those fears that elections would be violent. People were hiding because they felt the police were unnecessarily targeting them. So a lot of people were afraid to come out. That obviously had an impact on voter turnout. So I don't know whether to blame my colleagues I left behind in the voter education departments. They were hamstrung, and also the build-up, especially with the tension and the likelihood of violence. I think that would have affected voter turnout, but it's something we have to interrogate a little bit further than this.
Right. Incidentally, Governor Godwin Obaseki was the one who appointed you as Attorney General of the state, and his party lost in this election. So this election loss must hit home for you.
The party did not lose. From INEC figures, the PDP did not lose the election. INEC declared it was our quarrel is with the collation from local government and state level. And when you go to the IREV, and that is one of the innovations, and that, we were committed to innovating. A lot of the gains pre-2011, 2015 have been lost because these things were not sustained. The fidelity to these things was not there. So let me be clear about that. The People's Democratic Party did not lose that election. It won the election, in fact. And that's the case we're making. You did a wrong declaration. It was a heist, a robbery, what the Americans call grand larceny, theft, you know. So there was no loss to the election. The declaration was a wrongful declaration. Did not follow the law, did not follow the processes. So we feel bad that this heist was allowed to take place. We feel bad that they've done it previously, and the pattern is continuing. It's a threat to our democracy. We've lost so much. It's been 2 steps forward and 5 steps backwards. And so things have to be done to regain and rebuild confidence. We thought this was a golden opportunity to rebuild the confidence in the process. Going on to Ondo, and of course, the party chairman of the APC said, look, the template they have used, writing results, writing fictitious, false results, suppressing votes of the winning party and boosting the votes of the losing party to turn them into the winning party. They've promised that template. This is the biggest threat to our democracy in the last 25 years. It is.
Okay, so let's stay on your comment that the PDP did not lose the election. The party has already signaled its intention to go to court. You are a lawyer. How do you think that will play out? How do you see it playing out?
First of all, I'm not aware that the party has signaled its intention to go to court. What I am aware is that there is a procedure for a challenge, administrative challenge of the election. We will explore all lawful means to challenge and to correct and to redress this grievance. And the first thing is using the provisions of the Act. I have been involved with civil society partners and certain like-minded people in the Commission, outside of the Commission, committed to do all we can to improve the process, because we think democracy is what the people of Nigeria want. So we've done so much in terms of reform. In Section 65 of the 2022 Act, a novel thing was introduced into our legal jurisprudence, and that is that you have an opportunity to challenge administratively, petition the Commission, say, look, sorry, this result you have declared or the election went against the guidelines, the rules, and the law regulating the process. Fortunately, that was assented to. The National Assembly passed that, so there's a proviso to Section 65 permitting any party to approach the Commission to say, look at what we have seen. And we are going to the Commission. We've gone to the Commission and said, look, using your IREV, polling unit results scanned with the beavers at the polling as required by the Electoral Act and as required by the guidelines of the Commission indicate, and this is the building blocks of every electoral process, is EC8A, the polling unit results, indicate that the People's Democratic won this election. So please, can you rectify it? You use it under 2 scenarios. One, when a declaration is made under duress and the returning officer has not come to tell us that he made this under duress, or when the guidelines, the law, have been breached by people who are supposed to have conducted election. So that window of opportunity is there. We want to give the Commission benefit of the doubt, and this is a test for the Commission. It has done so once or twice proud to now. But this is a test. This is the first time I'm aware of that in the governorship election, we've gone there with compulsive evidence to show using the materials of INEC. Say, look at these things. They can go and try to tidy things up. But the world has seen the IREV. People have downloaded the thing. People have taken screenshots and calculated what it is. And we now know that the PDP is the leading and should have been returned. So we'll give them benefit of the doubt. We'll go there. And then it's either they redeem themselves or they go down in infamy and say, no, they have an opportunity, they can do this. The law permits them to do that. Right. If they fail to do that, it will just show that those in the commission are complicit. And if they're complicit, we'll be left with no alternative. Maybe the candidate and the party will sit down and say, what are our options? And we don't rule out any options, including a petition. But we hope we will not get there. We have given them the opportunity to redeem the situation.
Very briefly, because we're almost out of time, finally, I would like to ask you, the judiciary has become really entangled politically because most times now they have to decide the outcome of elections. These cases all end in court. Do you think that's healthy for our democracy? Briefly.
Well, it's healthier than allowing people to take to the streets or take to violence. There's a redress mechanism provided by the law. We should explore that redress mechanism. In a civilized society, in a society where the rule of law prevails, that is the mechanism that is put. But if those people who should be pillars in terms of the rule of law are shaking and are not as solid as they are, then I'm afraid that it's a problem, and impunity will continue unless and until we redeem the situation using the rule of law and institutions that seek to protect the rule of law.
Honorable Commissioner Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi, thank you so much for joining us on the program.